innocent. I believe that he was innocent.
I'm not asking you to do that. But if I can't get a tone of cooperation, then I'm going to have to ask you to get uninvolved.
Okay, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I've said that over and over again. Yes, sir. Bajik, did you hear what I said? Go upstairs. Record. Tablet. Go tell. Keep trying. And Trayvon, you don't have to speak to anybody on that until we get a lawyer. Do you hear me? Did you hear me? And then what's your name, sir? My name is...
Officer Hanning, I did 2687. Be glad to give you a business card.
Thank you so much. May I get your information too, ma'am?
No, you can't. I'm the primary investigator. That's all that matters.
Okay, well, thank you, sir. Can you tell me where you're taking my son before you leave?
You've become uncooperative, so I'm not going to do that.
I've not come uncooperative. All because I said the way you just got through handling my son, all I just said to you was he is a good kid, and you said that he's not going to cooperate. You're going to tell him, ask him if he's a tough guy? He's 14 years old.
Because I'm looking for a reason to be able to release him. I'm not finding that.
You're not finding it because you want somebody not to cooperate. What do y'all got to do? Do y'all just constantly have to kill our kids for y'all to just sit here and think that their life is valuable? How you going to cooperate with me 5 seconds ago and then a few minutes ago, you going to just sit here and drive off with my son and not tell me where you taking him? This is bull. How you gonna tell my, so you cannot drive off with my son and tell me that when you're not taking him, he's a minor. It does matter because he did not say he did that. There are so many different people that is, no. There is so, no, because that is another, that is
about Nick though, bro.
That's what I'm saying. No, you didn't. You got one person that everybody is so called allegedly. You gonna give me your information and let me know where you're taking my son, okay? Because he's 14 years old and you're not gonna take my son.
Have my officers en route code. I have a
I
mother
want
out here that's
my
interfering in the
son.
investigation.
I'm not interfering in your
understand
investigation, but you're not gonna take my
Sir.
son from me. Don't you just grab my son like that? How you just gonna sit here and grab my son like that?
Stop! Hey, stop! Come on, just step back.
How is you just sitting here doing my child like that? He is 16 years old, and you just slapped him in his face? Do y'all think that y'all can get away with killing these kids for nothing?
Mama, come on.
And then you're gonna refuse to tell me where you taking my son?
Come on.
Off of some hearsay shit? Give me my fucking son!
What are you cuffing him for?
Yeah, come in code. Come in code. You're gonna tell me I'm gonna have a lawsuit
What are you
against
cuffing
your
for? What you got
I'm
cuffed
telling
for?
you, you're not gonna take my son because
What
of
are you
some hearsay
cuffing?
And then you gonna sit here and threaten him in his face?
Hey, bro, you got this on video?
Hey, could you put my glasses on?
Come on now, what you cuffing
He is
for?
16 years old. You didn't have to slap him in his face. Yes, I got it on record. Outstanding, yes. Y'all think y'all can get away with just doing this to our kids?
Just calm down.
You can't seize my phone.
What do you mean it's
You can't
evidence?
seize-
What am I doing? My hands are
You
up.
are interfering.
With what?
Take the phone. Take the phone.
Okay.
There you go. Take my phone.
Step out.
For what? What am I doing?
Just step out between
What am I doing? My hands are
You
up.
are interfering.
With what?
Take the phone. Take the phone.
Okay.
There you go.
July 13, 2017 WATCH, Texas mother's phone seized by police after videoing them abuse her children. Last week, July 3, 2017, in Arlington, Texas, Latasha Nelson documented an interaction between herself and Arlington police officer Chad Hanning. According to local media and the Next Generation Action Network, this incident escalated from an unfounded accusation of auto burglary. Officers claimed that the teen fit the description, and the mother pleaded with the officer to let her son go because he was not who they were looking for. The video starts with an exchange and Hanning holding the arms of Nelson's child as he walks towards an Arlington police car. The conversation seems civil, with the exception that Hanning is now accusing Nelson of interfering with his investigation, after simply asking where they were taking her son. The video then takes a complete 180 when Hanning throwing another of Nelson's son to the ground by his head, simply again asking questions. Nelson begins another video with an unidentified female Arlington police officer demanding her phone and the video's files it holds documenting the entire incident.
Second to open up this file. Hello, my name is Minister Dominic Alexander. I'm the president of the Next Generation Action Network, spelling my name D-O-M-I-N-I-Q-U-E-A-L-E-X-A-N-D-E-R. I have attorney Kim Cole, I have the mother, Natasha Nelson, Trayvon, and Roger with us today, two victims that we saw in this video. This incident, the Next Generation Action Network released a video last night around 11 p.m. About an incident that happened at the Addison Park apartment complex on July 3rd. A mother was coming down the stairs to looking at her son being asked and detained by the Arlington Police Department. The mother began to start asking the question, why was her son being detained, and why, where was he going? The officer refused to let the mother know why was he being detained and where was he going. The mother continuously followed the officer to ask him these simple questions. The officer put the young 14-year-old boy behind in the back seat of the vehicle and refused to tell the mother where he was going. A little bit after that, they moved away from the vehicle and was talking with the officer, asking them, continues to ask them where were they taking Trayvon, and the officer refused. The officer then paged and asked for backup and said that a mother was interfering. That officer charged and grabbed Broderick and slammed him to the ground and charged him with interfering with the police officer. After that, the mother was then asked to give over her phone, and after that, she went and trying to find her babies in across Tarrant County lines. After that, they was released 8 hours, and it's been a continuation of patterns during these days of going back and forth with the Arlington Police Department on whether these boys will face these charges or whether they will drop these charges. And there's been several different interactions with Arlington Police Department. The Next Generation Action Network is outraged by these actions, and we are asking that the Arlington Police Department thoroughly investigate this officer by the name of Chad Henning, and we ask that this officer be terminated for his actions and be charged with official oppression. And we ask that all charges be dropped off of the 16-year-old and the 14-year-old, and we ask that all properties be returned back to the mother. I'm going to turn it over to Kim Carter.
As you see in the video, there's a clear demonstration of yet another instance of police brutality against young black males. You see in the video that the mother becomes very distraught when the officer takes her 14-year-old son into custody and doesn't tell her where he's going, and rightfully so. You've seen across the country numerous instances of teenage boys being killed by law enforcement this summer. One right here in our own backyard in Box Springs. And so Ms. Nelson was rightfully frantic and terrified and afraid for her son's safety at that point. And as her 16-year-old tries to calm her, and the officer just grabs him and throws him to the ground. I can't imagine the terror that she felt at that moment. This is a problem. This video is full of violations of police policy. The officer is required to identify himself. The responding officers are required to identify themselves on the scene. As you see in the video, the officer would not permit the mother to obtain the name of the other officer who was present and the officer who actually drove her child away. This is problematic. They also unlawfully seized Ms. Nelson's telephone. It's not illegal to record an officer here in the state. As long as you're not interfering with their duties, it is perfectly legal to record an officer. And the officer in this case threatened to take Ms. Nelson to jail, but she did not turn over her phone. This is a problem. There's another video that you all haven't seen where they took the phone. Her other son stands in between her and the officer, trying to protect his mother from law enforcement. This is problematic. And children should not have to try to protect you from those who are hired to protect and serve. The officers took Ms. Nelson's phone and has refused to return it, unless she turned over this video, which was posted last night. There was no reason for them to take her possessions, and there's no reason for them to retain her phone. This is a clear violation of Ms. Nelson's constitutional rights, and to date, they still haven't returned her phone. As Next Generation Action Network President Minister Dominique Alexander indicated, he has requested that the public make contact with Arlington Police to request that they release Ms. Nelson's belongings, as well as drop the charges against her children. From my understanding, earlier today, there were no charges pending at this point. There were charges filed, and right now they're currently, quote unquote, pending investigation, which was contingent upon Ms. Nelson turning over this video. So we don't know what's going to happen now that the video has been released to the public, but these charges are pending, and they're pending investigation still.
I think it's so important, while we have a problem with law enforcement that grows throughout this country, the problem that continues to grow is when we get officers that abuse the law. When we get officers not only to refuse a mother the right to know where her minor child is going in the state of Texas, that's against the law to let that mother, to not let that mother know where her child is going. Also, the abuse of power of asking for someone's property. It is no law on books that's required. It was a bill that was filed, but it was shot down as soon as it got on the floor. But a person talking to an officer is not interfering with an officer. It's no state law saying that a person talking to an officer in the actions of arresting one is against the law. Nothing. But someone's actions is the only thing that condemns interfering with an officer. But this is the problem why we have this strained relationship with law enforcement. And we're going to leave it upon the Arlington Police Department to do the right thing, because this officer abused his power. And there is a statute for that. Official oppression. That's what he did to this family.
Ms. Cole,
Yes.
you also said, however, that this was a demonstration of another instance of brutality against young black men. Where was the brutality based on what we've seen in the video? The video shows one young man being ushered to a car, and then another part of the video shows another young man underground. So I haven't seen this other video. Give me an illustration of what happened that suggests that there was brutality here.
Well, what happened was off video when they took Broderick. He was just standing there talking to his mother, trying to comfort her because she was rightfully distraught that they had taken Trayvon and not given her any information regarding where they were taking him. And he was standing there and he was trying to comfort his mother, and he was grabbed by the officer and thrown to the ground. He was grabbed by the face and thrown to the ground. You'll hear Ms. Nelson on the video saying, you know, you slapped my son in the face.
Was that in the video?
It's not on the video because he was right there holding his mom, and she had the camera pointed, you know, filming the officer, and she that part of it is not on the video.
On any of the videos, even the new
No,
videos?
that's not on any of the videos. But you see him being thrown to the ground, and he's asking why, you know, why are you cuffing?
So Broderick was next to his mom at the time, the whole time?
Yes.
No, yeah, because in the video it seems like he came behind the officer, or
Yeah.
so how did that happen? I mean, there's a gap between if he's standing next to his mom and then when you see him being thrown to the ground?
They were walking toward the officer. They were asking, you'll hear Ms. Nelson constantly asking, where are you taking my son? Where are you taking my son? She wanted to know where the other officer had taken Trayvon. And so they were behind the officer initially. And then the officer turned around, and that's when
he came towards me, and I kept asking him, you know, where are you taking my son? And he said I was not trying to comply, and I was like, I'm just asking where are you taking my son? And my other son got in front of me and was trying to calm me down, and like I said, the officer just came around and just grabbed him by the face and threw him on the ground.
You see there in the video, it's a clear distance from the officer and Broderick and his mother. The officer gets his radio and literally walks up to the mother and Broderick and radio in and says, I have a mother interfering with my duty. And he grabs her son. He walks up to her. Now my problem is what gave him the probable cause to go and walk up to them and grab them, because all they're doing is talking. Now, if talking is interfering with a police conduct, I want to see the statute for that.
Well, at that point, the officer had already detained Trayvon, who was supposedly the suspect in a burglary. He had already detained him and sent him on his way. So there was no interference with his performance of his duty. He was simply inquiring where you're taking my child. There were numerous violations of police policy as well as the Texas Penal Code. I mean, official oppression for one, and I would assert, you know, assault for the handling of Broderick, who was absolutely doing nothing to interfere with the officer's duty. He did nothing to be arrested or to be detained.
Ms. Nelson, that's why I wanted to ask you about how you felt about that police officer's conduct throughout this entire ordeal. Not only when your first son was taken away, but the conduct that you faced with your son and the allegation of his handling of your son.
Basically, I talked to the officer and my son, we were all being polite. When the officer approached me, when I asked him, was everything okay with my son, because my son was sitting on the ground, he spoke with me calmly. It was until he seen my other son come around the corner that he made the comment, oh, and we're gonna have a problem with this big fella here. I said, no sir, that's just my 16-year-old son. He asked my son to come over, and as he asked him to come over, he started looking in my other son's backpack, where he looked through things and actually picked out the Bible, asked my son, is this, you know, yours, or do you read it? And my son said yes, and he smirked and threw the Bible on the ground. His behavior towards my son was like just very aggressive and just not, I just like not understanding. It was just, it went from, you know, talking to me first, it was calm, and then it just started escalating. When he asked Trayvon to stand up, Trayvon stood up, he started asking Trayvon questions, and then it was just, you know, he just started getting rude and he was trying to entice something for him to do to him, and then he started saying, yelling at him, talking about, I can't hear you, say it loud, yes sir, and he's like, you acting like you're a tough guy, and I was like, no sir, and then that's when I cut him, and I was like, no sir, he's just 14 years old, he's a good kid. Sorry. And at that time, the officer just said, y'all not cooperating, I'm gonna take him down. And I was like, okay. Then he put Trayvon in handcuffs, and then I started recording. And it just, the aggression that he had towards them and then towards me, like I said, it switched instantly, and it just kept switching.
Here's the distinction for me in terms of what your attorneys are talking about, in terms of what the law is. When did you see this officer put his hands on your other son? Because we don't see that.
My son was standing in front of me, And the officer came and grabbed, he was standing like to the side of me, and the officer, and trying to calm me down, because they had already taken my other son, and the officer came around and grabbed him and threw him on the ground by his face, and like, just literally, he had glasses on, and you can even hear it in the video of my son, hey, excuse me, sir, can I have my glasses? And I don't even believe that he even gave it to him. I don't know, but it was just, and it was just uncalled for.
Ms. Nelson, you're a mother of how many?
I'm sorry?
You're a mother of how many?
5.
Watching 2 of your sons being detained by police, you look a little rattled when we're talking about the details. How much has this shaken you over the past couple of days?
It's terrified me because of, I'm trying to handle the situation by myself, and then I needed the help because every time I try to talk to someone, it just kept, I don't know, it just kept escalating, and that's why I needed help. Because
when did you realize that taking the video was a thing for you to do?
At that point when the officer kept getting aggressive, and with his tone, his manner of his tone, and how he was talking to my son.
Claudia.
Yeah, I have 2 clarifying questions. One is about charges. So they took both of your sons to where did they take them to start with?
They took them to the jailhouse, which I was not aware because I had to call 911 and look for them. I had to have the dispatch call, the supervisor dispatch call their sergeant in order to find them, and that took about an hour to do that. But it was from the jailhouse that was 8 hours, and then the detention center was another 2 hours.
And when they released them, was it on bond? Were they charged at that point?
No, I was told that the charges for Roderick was dropped because he said that they were charging Roderick with, I guess, interfering and touching, I guess, the police officer. But he did not touch that police officer. And then with Trayvon, it was pending. But I was given paperwork saying that there was no further action. And in so many words, the sergeant was like, well, I was going to charge him with, what he did something to the officer, but I'm just going to do interfering at this point. So like I said, my son did not touch the officer at all.
And who made the offer to you if you were to give them the video? Was it to drop charges?
It was yes.
Can you talk about that offer? Is that okay?
Will you take us through that timeline of what happened and who you spoke with, please?
Did you bring your pad? She spoke with, they've called her numerous times, up to yesterday. Yesterday was the most recent time, and they've been trying to get her to turn over her tablet with the video on it. They indicated that they would release her cell phone because on the video that you haven't seen, they confiscated her cell phone, and so they took that and they indicated that they would release her cell phone if she gave them this video. And when the discussion about the charges where they indicated that, well, it's being investigated, but we could charge them with this. But if you bring this, you bring us this video, and so obviously it wasn't a clear, hey, give us this, we'll give you that, but it was certainly her impression that was what, because they were adamant that they wanted this video.
And who is they?
Who is they, yeah.
She has names.
Detective Ortiz at the police department, the internal affairs, Mike Moses. I think that's pretty much it.
And let me make sure I make this note, that the charges against Trayvon had no evidence. They found and stopped the first child that they saw on scene.
With the backpack.
With the backpack.
That's what they said.
Trayvon was only asked by his mother to go check and see if the pool was open, correct?
Yes.
To see if the pool was open. When Trayvon was walking back to his parents' home, to his home, that's when he was stopped by a police officer. You hear the police officer stating, I tried to find a reason to release him, but since you're not cooperating, I won't. Now, if he committed a crime, he don't have a choice but to actually arrest him. So that let me know that there was nobody that ID'd Trayvon, Nobody said, hey, that's him right there. They just picked the first one that they saw that was black and that had a backpack on.
This was investigating a burglary that was happening at the complex?
Yes, the burglary of a vehicle.
And so that's what I want to make sure that this is important, that this get out, so that people does not put this narrative that, oh, we're protecting a thief. No, there was no evidence. No evidence. And this mother has had to go through some very unprofessional things with the Arlington Police Department. And that's why the mother has reached out to NGAN to address these issues.
And also, I want to make it known that, you know, they confiscated her phone, they seized her phone. A lot of her work she does on call. She's missed out on job opportunities. And also, just this morning, when I was on the phone with her, she received a notice that they're terminating her. Certainly, she's lived in the same place for over 4 years, and this incident arises, the video hits the internet, and now they're terminating her lease. This has had some dire consequences for this entire family, and it's unfortunate that instead of actually investigating a crime and pursuing a viable suspect, the first little black boy with a backpack, and there was nothing that said that, hey, the guy that broke into the car had a backpack. They just saw someone with a backpack and assumed that there would be stolen items in it, and instead they found a Bible. This is not in his character. He has not been in trouble. He is not a thief. This is not the type of activity that he engages in. And there was no evidence whatsoever. There was no reason for them to detain him.
I want to quickly ask Trayvon and Broderick questions about your feelings about your encounter with those police officers. One, you had to be taken in, and others, there's accusations that a police officer's put his hands on.
I would actually request that they agreed that they wouldn't have to speak, so until they're comfortable. They're rattled by this whole situation, and they were both terrified. They were both scared. They haven't been in trouble, and so they were both terrified, rightfully so. And so until they're comfortable, I'd rather not have them speak on him.
The third one to come out of this.
I don't want nobody else to have to go through that. To not know what it was taking him, it was so scary. It's just you. And then, I just asked, can I at least get her name, the unknown officer that they put in the car? And then all of that with him grabbing him. I don't think it's fair to be treated like that, we are all citizens here, and we all, they're here to protect and serve us, not do all of that other stuff. I just don't want this officer to get away with feeling like he can just do that to anybody.
And what do you say, ma'am, to those, this stuff has been posted on social media, and everybody and their mother has commented in one form or fashion. What do you say to those who say, well, part of the problem was your response, your emotions, your reaction, that kind of thing? What would you tell them?
I am a black woman in America, and I love my kids. Do you know how hard it is to have 4 sons and think every day what can happen to them going out there in the world? And when you sit here and tell me you're going to take my son somewhere and not let me know, it didn't have to escalate like that. I just needed to know where he was going. I'm not from here. I don't know the rules here. So it's like, if you don't have a heart to just understand the fear that I went through, knowing that they was going to take my son, both of them, somewhere, and going to arrest my other son, that is scary.
And rightfully so. It's no secret. We've seen this repeatedly, not just locally, but across the country, where these young black males are being gunned down by law enforcement with impunity. No one's ever being held accountable Fortunately, these young men were not killed, and that's a good thing. But as a mother, you see someone drive off with your son, don't even know who the person is. There's no telling what could possibly happen. And so she was terrified. So yes, she was rightfully emotional. Like she said, if you can't understand that, perhaps you have absolutely no soul. Because as a mother, especially 2017 America, where law enforcement can do whatever they want with your child and walk away, I would be terrified.
And what we are asking, and what NGAN's mission has been always, is for the police department to do a great job in holding the bad apples in their department accountable. This is no way, form, or fashion a direct hit at all of the men and women that are police officers in the Arlington Police Department. But if they sit in that department and refuse this family justice, they are a part of the problem as well. Here is a mother only asking, where is her child going? And your officer used his badge and his authority higher than her authority over her son's well-being. And that is a problem. If anybody wants to give an excuse towards that, you are the problem in America. We have saw this time and time again. Let's not act like this relationship is not strained. And it's strained because we're not seeing officers be held accountable time after time after time. We want justice. We want this officer terminated from the Arlington Police Department. We want this officer charged with official oppression. We want all charges to be dropped off of these babies, and we want all of the properties to be released. And we will do direct action after direct action in the city of Arlington until all of those things are met. And we're not trying to ask the city of Arlington or the Arlington Police Department to give us a 6 months or a 2 month or a month or a week-long investigation. We want it now. It's enough evidence out there to show this. We're tired of this prolonged investigation, this process of turning it over to the DA, Sharon Wilson, saying, hey, she's pending the investigation, she's investigation. No, we want Chief Will Johnson to step out and say something about this issue. We want a response, and we will not stop until those actions are met.
Have you filed any official complaints with the police department about use of force or anything at this point?
Yes, I did, and I spoke with Mike Moses, but once again, I felt like I was backed into a corner because of the way I felt like he just made it like it was our fault that this happened, and the way he said it, the way every time I talked to one of the detectives, that's how I felt like we were guilty already before they even heard anything or saw anything.
And I think that's indicative of the larger problem here in this country. Law enforcement sees little black boys and automatically assumes that they're guilty. It took seconds before they killed Tamir Rice. They've got to do better. As Dominique indicated, the relationship is strained beyond belief. And we keep seeing this time after time after time. Certainly, this is not an indictment on all of law enforcement. I am a firm believer that most of the men and women in blue are good people. But when an officer violates policy as well as the penal code, there should be consequences. And that is why the relationship between the community and law enforcement is trained, because it appears that the law doesn't apply to law enforcement. And they should certainly be held to at least, at minimum, the same standard that an ordinary citizen would. And they're not. And you see it repeatedly, time after time. If she had grabbed her own 16-year-old son by the face and threw him on the ground, she would go to jail. I mean, that's just a fact. And so we're asking for accountability. It would go a long way. Arlington indicates that they are about building community relations. And so hopefully they will do what's right and hold this officer accountable for his actions. There were violations of police policy, as well as the Texas Penal Code, committed here with regard to apprehending these two young boys. And the officer responsible needs to be held accountable.
Mr. President, you said you're not familiar. Where are you guys from? How long have you been here?
Oklahoma, and like I said, they've never been in trouble. We've never had to deal with the police. And so it's just kind of like, we've been here since 2010, but in the world, we don't bother anybody. And like I said, they've never been in trouble.
Well, I'm from Oklahoma City. Where are you from?
And in closing, the city of Arlington and Arlington Police Department has a problem with this word transparency.
Yeah.
We've been down there for the case of Tavis Crane, a young man that was killed by law enforcement in the city of Arlington, and they refused to release the dash cam video. Well, this time we got the video, and we released it. So we want to show you a little case of transparency so that everybody can see it. We will be releasing some of the other videos, and we will be releasing individuals that want to talk, that witness these incidents. We want transparency. We want justice in this case. And the Next Generation Action Network will not cease until accountability is met in this city. So this is a clear message to the mayor, Jeff Williams, to the chief, to all of the city council. We want justice, and we do not want this blue wall of silence. We want justice. Thank you, guys.
How many more videos are there, and what do they show?
There are two more videos. One has an angle that one of the witnesses of this incident took, and one of them is a 20-minute video that shows, I think when they asked for your phone, 20 seconds. Okay, 20 seconds of when they asked for the phone. So the other one is a much larger video than the one that was originally released. It just don't have any audio, but it shows some of the things that went on. But there are people that witness, and we want to just show how this family has been treated since this family has been treated like they are the suspects. Just by this morning, the mother receiving a actual eviction notice is for her releasing a video. She get an eviction notice, and the apartment complex show no regards. So we're going to take action on all fronts.
What is the name of your complex?
Addison Park.
Addison Park?
I would prefer that you not disclose that.
We don't have to show the address, but we're going to have to go there to that location. So I'll give it to y'all later on.
She has her notice. It's a lease termination.
Is the lease expiring?
In October.
Okay.
But
What was the reason given for the?
There was no reason given.
And no appeal.
There was no reason given. It just so happened to be given to her when the video was released to the public. So I don't know if the Arlington Police Department called them, but that's not a tactic they haven't used before.
How does it give you till the end of the month? Does it give you 30 days? How long do you have to deal with this?
I have until October 31st.
They just will not be renewed. They will be terminating her lease at the end of her lease, and she will not be able to renew, even though she's been there for 4 years.
Now, so there's no video that shows when the officer grabbed Broderick? Right?
No, because the position he was at.
Is that when the officer was like right
in front of, in front of it? That's
so. So he grabs Broderick and does what?
He grabs him and slams him on the ground.
Okay, because at that point, I mean, it doesn't, in the video, it doesn't seem like he grabs him until he's behind him. I mean,
No. The officer was behind. Broderick was facing his mother.
Okay.
And the officer came up behind him.
I got you.
Yeah, so that's why I guess it looks like he's behind the officer.
Because he passes him, yeah, okay.
And that's in terms of clarity of the abuse, of the assault, is something that you have not seen on video, so it's an accusation.
Well, the thing about it is the thing about it is as a fact is because the officer is directly in front of the mom and Broderick. The officer walks up as he radio in the officer to back up. He walks up and Broderick is right here. The camera is going that way. The officer walks up and you see him grab him and slam him onto the ground right there in front of it. They were a distance away. So it was no part where any video, in any of that video, where you saw Broderick touched, brushed anywhere that officer in any kind of way. And then when he was on the radio, he said a mother was interfering, and he grabbed the child. And that's, you know.
Yeah, and there are eyewitnesses as well as the victims right here. So.
And we would release the information for you to be able to contact the witnesses and stuff like that, whatever, so that you can get a second account. We don't want to just be partisan in this situation. We want to be bipartisan. You will be able to see other people that witnessed this exchange between his family and law enforcement.
Are you going to release the other two videos coming up right now? Are you going to release the other two videos right now?
Ms. Nelson, what's your first name, please? Yeah.
Ma'am. I'll be releasing them just a little bit. As soon as I get in front of the computer.
He wears it all the time. That's his nature. He just wears it all the time.
It's 99 degrees outside.
Natasha, how do you spell your first name again?
L-A-T-S-H-A.
L-A?
T-A-S.
All lowercase? All lowercase?
L-A-T-A-S-H.
Hey Charlotte County, this is Charlotte County Cop Watch, and I wanted to explain what fair use is. You can use pieces of news articles if you're doing it for news reporting, you have commentary, and you're doing it for education purposes. So that's what fair use is, as you can see right here. Another reason why I wanted to make this video is to let you know I have just joined with Patreon. A nice thing with Patreon, I make no money on YouTube. They took the money away years ago, and so this is another way to give, and it's a nice thing too because you can give monthly. You can give $1, $5, $10, whatever. I do 4 to 5 hours a day on trying to wake the sheep up on how corrupt it is and different ways that you can fight the corruption. So Patreon is a way that you can do it, and then of course the old way is still there. Donate to Charlotte County Cop Watch with PayPal or credit card. So keep that in mind. 4 to 5 hours a day. I make no money, but the corruption happened to me and I'm sick of it, so I'm trying to wake people up. But my wife would love it if if we could get some help out there. There's 47,000 subscribers. Just think if each one of you subscribers just gave let's say actually yes, $1 a month. 47,000 subscribers gave $1 a month. That would be awesome. That's not going to happen. But anyways, that would be great if it did happen. But do the math in your head. Just think about it. Like I said, 4 to 5 hours a day. I get no money from YouTube. YouTube has gone nuts. You can't do anything anymore. They're taking the money away everywhere. So these are a couple different ways that you can still help out with all this time that I put in. And as you know, I'm in a special situation where, you know, at least I can do it, you know, 4 to 5 hours a day. We have a cleaning company during the day. That's what allows me to do this, and we're debt free. So this is my hobby. I don't go fishing and all that other crap. I try to save the world. So help me out to make the wife happy, man. In fact, if you guys did give $1 a day, and there was 47,000 of you, and you did it, and each of you gave $1, and that was every month, oh my God, yes, I could quit. I could start suing them. Another idea too that we have is, you know, if I got, you know, some funds, we could actually contact everyone that has been ticketed and or arrested and put in jail and start sending them postcards to let them know we're here, and to see if everything went all right, and if it didn't, find out their story. So we could even do more investigations and more lawsuits. Lawsuits take money. So just think about that. You know, 47,000 of you so far right now. You know, $1 a day. I mean, $1 a month on Patreon, or $5 a month Patreon, 10, 20, whatever. Just do the math in your head. Help out. This is a lot of work every single day. Thanks.